Hey everyone, today we are going to look at Pythagorean theorem again, but today we are going to solve for a leg of your triangle. We still need a right triangle, so you're looking for that 90 degrees box that is in the corner of your triangle. Just a quick review, remember that you have two sides that are named legs. Usually they go by A and B. It does not matter which one is which. But the most important one is C, the hypotenuse, and that is your diagonal, your longest side. Remember that your hypotenuse can be found directly across from your right angle. If you are looking for it and your triangle is turned or rotated and you are trying to figure out which one is the diagonal, just look at that right angle and go directly across. Okay, let me write down your formula. Alrighty, so I went ahead and wrote down your main Pythagorean theorem equation, the a squared plus b squared equals c squared. This is what you would see on a formula sheet. So if we are solving for a leg of the triangle, whether it be a or b, it doesn't matter which one, okay? If you notice, we are actually going to be using the subtraction symbol in our square root today. It is really important that you use the subtraction. And it's also really important to note that c squared has to come first, okay? You have to put that hypotenuse first when you're doing it under the square root sign. Otherwise, we could switch out the a and the b, and this equation would almost look exactly the same, okay? Remember, yesterday when we were solving for c, we used a squared plus b squared, okay? But we're not going to use that plus sign today. Remember, today we're using a subtraction sign, and our c needs to come first. So let's look at some examples. So for our first set of examples, we notice on this that we have 3 centimeters, 11 centimeters, and we're looking for B. It tells us that we're looking for B. So I'm going to go ahead and label that that is my A, directly across from that 90 degree. That would be my C, okay? If I'm going to plug in, I'm going to have B equals, and I have C squared, so 11 squared minus A squared, so 3 squared. And I'm just going to jump over to my Desmos and do the square root of 11 squared, which was my C squared, minus my A squared, which is 3 squared. So 10.58. would be my answer. Okay, not too bad. Now let's go try this next question. So this next one, we are given that we're looking for A. So that means this is my B and this is my C. It is directly across from my right angle if I needed to check. Okay, so I'm looking at A equals the square root of 10 squared, because remember we want our C squared first, minus 5 squared. Be sure you're looking at putting a minus sign and your C squared first. So again, I'm going to jump over to Desmos. 10 squared minus 5 squared. Whoops, and of course it messes up. Okay, let's see. 10 squared minus 5 squared. Okay, it's really important that all of that is underneath that square root sign, and you get 8.66. So let's go over here, and our answer was 8.66. That's a horrible 8. Let me try and fix that. There we go. Okay. Got a couple more examples. Let me scroll down. All right. So this one does have a C. If I look for that first, it is directly across from my right angle. And now if you notice, we're looking and solving for X. Okay, so we can make that your A or your B. I'm going to go ahead and just make it my A, and this will be my B leg. Okay, so if I go to write my formula, I know that I have to have C squared first, so 20 squared. And then I'm going to subtract 14 squared, and I'm going to just jump right over to my Desmos or my yellow calculator. And we had 20 squared minus 14 squared. 20 squared helps. If I'm under there. Okay, 20 squared minus 14 squared, 14.28. Let me write that down. All right, so it's not too much different from yesterday. I forgot my 2. On this one, it kind of leaves you a blank over here, but remember, we're going to look for this. So I'm going to say that this is my A, and maybe this is my B, and this is my C, because it's directly across from my right angle. So if I'm looking here, I'm going to have 4.7 squared minus 4.1 squared, C squared minus B squared, all under that square root sign, because I'm looking for that leg. So 4.7 squared minus 4.1 squared. 4.7 squared minus the 4.1 squared. 2.29. I realize I could probably round that up even more, but right now that's okay. And that would be my answer. Alrighty, so now we have a little bit of like where we don't have a picture, so we can draw ourselves a picture. You can do it without a picture. If it helps draw a picture, that's a horrible triangle. It's still going to work though, because I have 6. I have a hypotenuse of 16 because it's directly across from my right angle. And I'm looking for this leg. Maybe I'm looking for B. So I have 16 squared, all under the square root sign, minus 6 squared. Please put it in your calculator. Don't assume that you can do 16 squared minus 6 squared and it gives you 10 squared. No, it doesn't. Put it in your calculator. 16 squared. Let me clear this. 16 squared minus 6 squared. 14.83 would be my other leg. That's what it's asking for. Alrighty. So on this one, remember C squared has to come first. You're going to use your subtraction, and then whatever leg they give you is what will be under that square root sign. So if you need to, please write down these formulas here. They're really important. You're going to use them throughout today. You used them all yesterday. You're going to use them this week. Write them down, please. And if you have any questions, get a hold of us.